But you weren't given the choice.
I know, I wasn't given the choice. And I was very, very resentful for many years. That's the part of Prince that's very controlling. He doesn't look back. He moves forward.
I did not know. I did not know that he was suffering. I knew something was wrong.
Prince's ex-wife and adopted child revealed new information about their relationship in her new memoir, including how they initially met and the night the musician took her virginity, and how it might have eventually taken Prince's life.
I don't consider her my wife anymore because that word used to make me, don't touch my wife, don't put your hands on my wife.
I think he thought because we lost our 2 children, 2 babies, that I wasn't the one.
Mate Garcia was just 16 years old and living in Germany when her mother sent Prince a video of her belly dancing, which allowed her to spend time backstage at one of his.
But I think we do a nice act together, but I prefer to dance on myself, and I'm sure that she also prefers.
The two immediately hit it off, and a year later Garcia was living with Prince at his Paisley Park property in Minnesota, where he became her legal guardian with her parents' permission.
I probably would be a little hesitant for my daughter, but if I trusted her, then I would have to let her do what she wants to do.
This gave Garcia the opportunity to dance professionally, and she rapidly became the star of Prince's 1992 Diamonds and Pearls tour. That same year, she inspired Prince's most recent album, whose title was an unpronounceable symbol that became known as Love Symbol. And in 1995, Prince wrote the hit song The Most Beautiful Girl in the World for Garcia. At the time, the two had been in a S relationship for years, which Prince began by advising Garcia one day that it was time for her to start using birth control. She was 19 at the time. In her book, The Most Beautiful, My Life with Prince, Garcia shares the story of how she first caught Prince's attention. She explains that her mother submitted a tape of her belly dancing, which intrigued Prince. At the time, Garcia was living in Europe. When Prince received her tape, he invited her backstage at his concert. Garcia vividly remembers their first encounter. Prince was outside his dressing room shaking a small maraca. His hair was styled in soft waves, and his eyelashes were strikingly beautiful. He smelled of luxurious perfume. Despite wearing eyeliner, heels, and women's perfume, Prince exuded masculinity. He asked Garcia if she was truly 16 years old, to which she confirmed. Then, Prince expressed his interest in getting to know her better and asked for her phone number. Prince called the same night and asked Garcia to come to his hotel room with more records, referring to her as Arabia, she writes in the memoir, which people reprinted. He was soon contacting her every night and writing to her in a single note. "You're so pretty. It cheers me up if someone tries to ruin my day. Many do. Thank you for coming into my world." According to Garcia, the singer never denied that the occasional impure thought crossed his mind, but he did not have a S relationship at the time. That same year, she was invited to Paisley Park, where she belly danced for Prince before sleeping in a separate bedroom. Garcia writes, "In the morning, he made pancakes." She graduated from high school at 17 and began dancing for Prince, who became her legal guardian and moved her into Paisley Park. Garcia says that the singer was harsh about her style, prompting her to adjust when she arrived at rehearsal in sweatpants one day. He also kept a close eye on her weight and p***ed her when he caught her eating whipped cream after she had gained a few pounds. 20 minutes later, the tour accountant came in and said, "I'm so sorry I have to dock your pay this week." Then when she was 19, Prince told her that it was time to go on birth control. A week or so later, I wrote in bold in my journal, February 9th, 1993, not a virgin, and I drew a winky, smiley face, writes Garcia. Patience pays off. Garcia's was published a year after her husband was discovered dead in his Paisley Park residence. It was eventually found that the singer died as a result of a fentanyl overdose. He was only 57 at the time. "There's just nobody like him," Garcia remarked in an interview to accompany an excerpt from her memoir. "No male could pull off my pantsuit, eyeliner, and mascara better than me." Garcia was 22 years old and working as a backup dancer for the singer, who was 37 at the time when they married on Valentine's Day in 1996. 8 months later, she gave birth to their son, also known as Boy Gregory Nelson. The kid was delivered a month early, but Garcia said her pregnancy went quite smoothly until she started bleeding one day, at which point her doctor offered an amniocentesis to look for genetic problems in the infant. Prince refused to allow Garcia to have the treatment she describes, even after the doctor informed the expectant parents that sometimes the body is trying to release the fetus for a reason. Instead, the two returned home, where Prince, who was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist and converted to Jehovah's Witness in 2001, prayed for his kid. "Please, bless this child. We know you won't allow this child to be harmed," Garcia recalls Prince saying at the time while the two were on their knees. The singer was a fervent believer in the power of prayer and religion, claiming throughout his life that an angel cured him of epilepsy as a child. More bad news arrived at the couple's next checkup when the doctor informed Garcia and Prince that the baby's dimensions were concerning. "It's possible that we're seeing a form of dwarfism," the doctor told them. "My husband and I looked at each other and shrugged," Garcia says. She reveals that Prince then glanced at the obstetrician and asked, "And I'm totally fine with that." Garcia was subsequently persuaded to undergo another amniocentesis, which her husband again refused to approve. She adds that after learning about dwarfism, she felt delighted for the first time in a long time and even started laughing when she and Prince received the news that would have devastated many other couples. "Of all the possible outcomes that had been offered to us, this was the first one that didn't terrify me," Garcia writes. Dwarfism was not the couple's outcome, and Garcia describes in her memoir how she realized something was badly wrong with her son seconds after her C-section. Garcia tells how the nurses began hurriedly working on Amir, while her husband inquired of the operating room team, "Why is he not crying?" After the nurses were able to get the baby to breathe, Garcia was finally able to hold her son for the first time. "They brought the baby over to us," remembers Garcia. "He was curled on his side, gasping shallow little gulps of air. Because there were no lids to blink, his eyes looked startled and dry." Garcia then writes, "I caught hold of his tiny hand, saying over and over, 'Mama loves you, Mama's here.' That was one of the few occasions she was able to touch and speak with her baby, who never left the hospital and immediately began undergoing surgery and procedures to try to extend his life." Amir was still battling to breathe, according to Garcia, and nothing appeared to be working to improve his condition. "They'd sewn his eyes shut, intubation, feeding tubes. Every day something went wrong," writes Garcia. One doctor eventually recommended that the boy get a tracheotomy to help him breathe. He explained that if we didn't allow him to insert this permanent pipe in Amir's throat, we were making the choice to let him go. "And the more her talked, the more hysterical I got," writes Garcia. That's when Prince rushed in to soothe her, and the two ended up in the same terrible place, according to Garcia. "We have to let him go," said Prince. Garcia also discusses the condition that claimed her son's life, which she only learned about after his passing. Pfeiffer syndrome type 2 is a genetic disorder that causes skeletal and systematic abnormalities, writes Garcia. The premature fusing of the bones in the skull, sometimes resulting in cloverleaf skull, in which the eyes are outside the sockets. The fusion of bones in the hands and feet causing a webbed or paw-like appearance. The absence of an anus, indicating life-threatening abnormalities in the colon and bowels. Garcia goes on to write, "I learned all this later, but in that first moment I couldn't understand what I was seeing. That is why Prince had a look of terror when he saw the boy, whose arrival he had been eagerly planning for in the months before his birth." After their son passed away, Garcia describes retreating to her bed, where she spent days holding onto his ashes. Meanwhile, Prince left their home soon after they received their son's urn. "Our son's ashes were brought to the house in an urn," Garcia recounts. "I don't know how long I lay in bed with Amir's ashes. The next day, or maybe it was a week later, or in another lifetime, my husband came to me and said, 'I can't be here. I have to go.'" Feeling utterly alone, Garcia's days blurred into darkness. She reflects on how deeply the loss affected Prince, labeling it as one of the most challenging moments in his life. "I don't think he ever got over it," she shares. "I don't know how anybody can get over it. I know I haven't." Eventually, Prince returned and announced that they were scheduled for an interview with Oprah Winfrey. "Oprah's coming to Paisley today," he informed Garcia, who broke down in tears, pleading illness to avoid the interview. But Prince insisted, stating, "I need you to do this for me." Despite her reluctance, Garcia found herself made up for the interview, while Prince engaged with Winfrey just 2 weeks after their son's passing. During the interview, Prince showcased a nursery and playroom he had secretly prepared at Paisley Park. "While I was in the hospital, he had installed a lavishly equipped nursery and playroom at Paisley Park," Garcia reveals. "I didn't know anything about that. He wanted to surprise me. Oprah saw before I did. I have to wonder why he took her in there." Despite the elaborate setup, the nursery lacked the one essential thing: a baby. When Oprah questioned Prince about the baby's health issues, he dismissed concerns with, "It was all good. Never mind what you hear." Garcia, following her husband's instructions, remained silent throughout, wearing a forced smile. "I sat on the sofa, smiling a pretty ballerina smile. she recalls. I had been instructed by my husband, say nothing about Amir. In her memoir, Garcia opens up about a dark period in her life where, despite appearing content, she felt deeply isolated, even from her husband. I never told him about my thoughts of S side or how close I had come to doing it, she writes. But I started to think he knew because my Vicodin kept disappearing. I assumed he was hiding them to keep me from hurting myself. In retrospect, I don't know what to think. Reflecting on the writing process of her memoir, Garcia shares that it brought back many painful memories. I've been making notes of my life, but when it finally came time to write it, it took me back and I cried many tears, she says, emphasizing her intention to approach the book from love. The title of her memoir, The Most Beautiful, was suggested by Prince, inspired by a song he wrote in 1995. Garcia discusses the profound impact of Prince's passing shortly after his death, expressing deep sadness and devastation. I can't even think of the words of what I'm feeling, she tells People. This man was my everything. We had a family. I am beyond deeply saddened and devastated. Despite their separation and divorce, Garcia's love for Prince endured. Following the death of their son, Amir, Garcia and Prince's relationship never fully recovered. They officially annulled their marriage in 1999, but maintained a connection, attending events together and displaying affection. Their divorce was finalized in 2000, yet they continued to interact in a less conventional manner until Prince's remarriage in 2001. Despite their complicated history, Garcia reached out to Prince in 2006 to extend forgiveness, leading to a poignant moment of reconciliation during one of his shows in Las Vegas. After her divorce from Prince, Garcia dated drummer Tommy Lee for 2 years, though she consistently expressed enduring love for her ex-husband in interviews. Garcia has since found fulfillment in her career as a choreographer and actress, notably contributing to Britney Spears' I'm a Slave for You music video. She is also passionate about rescuing dogs and is a devoted mother to her daughter Gia, whom she adopted after experiencing the loss of Prince and the dream of motherhood. In the aftermath of Prince's death, reports surfaced detailing his private battle with addiction and just how the struggles in his life had taken a toll on him without anyone realizing. That's all for the video, folks. Thanks for watching.